Yeah. Cool. Well, congratulations on your new album.
Well,
We
thank you.
we stayed up we stayed up late on Thursday evening because we knew that it would be put on YouTube. So
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
we ordered it. I got it. I got a copy the next day, but we stayed up and listened to it, and it was really exciting. It's crazy to think this record was put together in a really short amount of time, like really short, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Do you mind talking a little bit about like how long was it as far as going from, hey guys, let's make a record even though we're in the middle of a pandemic because we need to do something. When you decided that, how long did it actually take to make this whole record?
About 4 months. 4 months.
That's crazy.
Yeah, that's crazy. Well, we had a few things in the bank. I mean, we were exchanging files for a while we were confined and everything. But I mean, it wasn't song. It was not song. It was just like beats and riffs and ideas that we share with files, and so we didn't have like one song completed.
Right.
So it was just a bunch. It was just a puzzle of things, and while we did the live stream, um, we uh, we we understood that we can sound really good as the four of us just plugged in, and in
Yeah.
the studio, and Francis did a really good balance of just guitar, drums, bass, vocal. That's it.
Yeah.
And from that experience, I think it gave us the idea to do a record, but not too much overproduce as the sound,
Yeah.
but concentrate on the song more than on the layers of guitars and the layers of vocal, and put some more and some more and some more. We kind of we wanted to sound clean but good, and
Yeah.
so we learned from the live streaming, because people who got the live streaming said, "Fuck, you guys sound really good, just like that," and so.
Yeah.
And I remember playing songs, and even live. We did a few shows during the last summer here in Quebec, and Francis was behind the board, and songs on the wake. There's multi guitar layers, but so Chewy live had to transpose a few things.
Sure.
And while we were listening to it live, it sounded good as it is. So why should we put layers
Yeah.
and layers and layers if it sounds good, just one guitar?
Right.
So we kind of learned from all that, and then we decided to just make it clean, work on the song, but not putting too much layer of stuff. And that's what we did. And but I think it was in June or July that we were sitting by the fire at the studio, and we decided to do that album. And we looked at each other and say, "Hey, if we want to have it out by next year, like spring, we have to deliver like end of September, October."
Right.
And we're in June,
Hey.
so we had a crazy, crazy summer writing,
Right.
intense section, and we fucking managed to do it. I just don't.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna do it again like that. It's just it's too crazy. But it gives a surprising result, because
Oh yeah.
that record is very different from the others. I don't know if it's because we were under pressure, and there was emergency going on, and I don't know, but
Yeah.
it reflects in the music as well. So it's a really unique, special album, I think.
Yeah, I think you guys really pulled it off. And the reaction has been across
Super
the
great.
board,
Yeah.
like even more so than the last record, and everyone loved the last record. And
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
obviously too early to tell, but just from a first couple lessons, I actually like this even better than the wait.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I really like.
That was a challenge too. We wanted to, we didn't want to do something inferior than the wake, we wanted
Yeah,
to, I think we had that kind of pressure behind us too, but we managed to do it as but we didn't seriously. I think we just let ourselves go because we had no time to think twice, and that's when the originality comes out, because you don't judge yourself. You just
yeah,
execute. You just
just
execute, and then there's a lot of things that came out just because of that. Just because we didn't have time, we wanted to create good right now. It's not tomorrow. It's now, and
and
it's and that pressure kind of like push us up to the limit, and of anything, of imagination, of creativity, of playing, of I don't know, like we really fucking pushed ourselves.
sure, and also the fact that you're like throwing yourself into this thing under pressure after not just obviously you guys, but the entire world being locked down, sort of because of the pandemic age that we all got thrusted into a couple of years ago, which is still
Yeah,
bizarre. So it probably also felt really nice doing something, taking on something so big after a year and a half of just kind of
yeah.
like
It's like
share,
it has
sharing.
something with it has something to do with Synchro Anarchy, the title, because the first year we we were confined. Everybody was home. There was a curfew here in Quebec, and then I spent almost an entire year by myself. No cats, no dogs, and fucking
Uh,
that was miserable. Like,
I bet that was rough at times.
yeah,
But
yeah. I was talking to myself seriously because I was about to go crazy, and and the time seems to be like a rubber band, like stretching, like
sure,
because you don't have any more schedule, you don't have any more routine, you don't have any more reference on time. It's just like, okay,
it's
sitting
like
home.
yeah, it's like you're in a boat being pushed out to sea and you don't know when you're going to go back to shore. Like you're
Yeah,
just
yeah, yeah, sort of. And
what's going.
the time was like kind of stretching, and then it became like days became week became months, and and nothing was happening, and in opposition to that, when we did the record, everything was compressed. It's like
Sure,
we
times
had no time. You had no time, so it's just that's a kind of like an opposition there, and
yeah.
uh,
The thing that I find really interesting about the band, like I'll have to give you a little bit of my background for how I discovered VoiVod. I I used to live in Southern California. That's where I grew up, and I'm
okay,
roughly the same age. I think I'm a little younger than you, but I'm 56. So
yeah,
I came of age, the early 80s kind of. And my aunt in California lived down the street from the original Metal Blade Records record store
oh,
in Woodland,
okay,
California, and the San Fernando Valley. I don't know how in Los Angeles. So I live. I don't live there, but my aunt lived like 2 blocks away. So I remember getting like buying Black Metal by Venom after it came out with money that my aunt gave me. It was like Hanukkah money, where Jewish. So I went down the street and bought Black Metal because I read about it in Kerrang. I'm sure you remember.
okay, yeah, yeah,
And brought it back and went, look. So I was kind of familiar with the early, I guess, underground metal scene for whatever it was worth from back then, like, discovering Motorhead, the first two Iron Maiden records. And I bought those Metal Massacre records that Brian Slagle put out.
Yeah,
So I remember the one where Condemned to the Gallows was on it, but then it seemed like right away War and Pain came out. So I came aboard from the
the
first
very
record,
beginning. Yeah,
very beginning. So I've been on the journey as a listener with you guys ever since. So like every period, every record. And for this new record, it feels like, and I don't know how you did it, but this is just my opinion as a fan. Somehow you guys 40 years later have started to put out some of your very best material like now. And I just don't really see, I don't see a lot of people that are your peers, and I'm not going to name any names or do anything like that, but like who does that? Like it just seems crazy that after all this time you're doing your very best music now that can hold its own against any period that you already lived through. And I think one theory I have about that, just as a listener, is that when you guys found Dan and Rocky to replace Blackie on the last couple records, there's like this sort of interplay between both of them, Rocky and Chewy, that's really, it doesn't sound just like the interplay between Piggy and say Blackie, like around Nothing Face or Dimension or any of that stuff. But there's that spirit. There's totally that spirit,
yeah.
all this bobbing and weaving, it's like, and you in a way are the other two equal. It's like four equal parts coming together.
Yeah.
And you guys did that doing your crazy weird music in the Nothing Face period, and somehow now you guys are doing it again in this new period 40 fucking years after you guys. Do you ever like sit back and think, man, how do we do this? Because you guys are in a very slim selection of bands that I can say that about. Do you ever
yeah.
man, that's cool that we can do this? Do you ever think about that stuff now? Or
Well, I think that the fact that when we met with Chewy and Rocky, since that lineup is on, there's a really nice chemistry in between the four of us. I think we all work hard.
yeah,
And we want to really, I think for them, for Rocky and Chewy, they play in a band that they've been fans since they're 13 years old.
yeah.
And then I think they really appreciate that they feel lucky to be in this band. And then it reflects on the whole mood. And I think that's, as personality, I think we're really balanced. Michelle is Michelle, I'm myself. We kind of like, especially when we tour, sometimes there's, you get a different kind of mood sometimes, and
Well, sure.
and there's always Rocky as the ability to, when someone is pissed off about something, or he's a really welding person. He welds stuff together. He welds. I have something, or Chewy and I, or a disagreement, or he's kind of gluing us together as a personality, and it's just like that. It's just um, and on stage, I mean, musically as well. I think he brings up ideas that complete the other one's ideas, and so on. Everybody puts something. Chewy is really good at to get into little details in the music, and because he's got science, he's a teacher, so he knows exactly what he's doing.
Yeah,
And he has the ability to pinpoint little tiny details, and that's a big work. It's a lot of work to do that.
sure.
But thank God he's there, because he makes us, at the end of the day, we sound better, just because of this little details here and there.
Yeah. He
You
also
know,
he also has that rare combination of somebody that has this scientific brain with this huge musical vocabulary, but he's
yeah.
obviously not stuck on being on musicality alone. Like does
Oh
that make
yeah, he's a really nice. He has a really nice personality too. You know, he's going in the wood, collecting mushroom and dancing, and you know, he's funny as hell. You
yeah,
know, and
yeah,
that we were a funny bunch. You know, and the four of us, I think,
yeah,
and then when it's been a long time without being together, we kind of miss it. You know, we're just like we recently did the video for Synchro Anarchy, the song, and
yeah.
just you know, it's just doing a video, but we were so happy to see each other and say, "Hey, buddy," and doing crazy stuff, and
Yeah.
um,
And also when you get older and you're able to still do something that you really enjoy doing and that you love doing and you're not able to do it for a while, that when you're able to do it again, you realize how much you loved it. And the people around you that are in that journey with you too, you know.
yeah,
Like I saw you guys, I think it was before Rocky joined, so Blackie was still involved, but you guys toured with Creator, sorry. And me and my friend, a friend of mine went up and saw you guys in Virginia. And I just remember it was like, you know, just that you guys were very joyous. You know, like you guys were having so much fun up there. You played everything perfectly. All four of you, you know, it was a nice vibe. And that's what struck me is that these guys are having a lot of fun and they really appreciate being able to do this even after all this time, especially considering what you and Michelle and you know went through when you guys lost Piggy, you know,
yeah,
those
yeah,
years. That, you know, which is even crazier, which even makes what I said about you guys putting out some of your best music ever now. It's like you guys, you know, you lost the guy that was like the main sonic architect that wrote a lot of the stuff, amazing guitar player, you know, and you know that was horrible, and you had to go through all that, and then somehow after that you're able to find this other guy, this other guy, and he's not the same person, and he's not trying to be exactly like it, but he knows enough of the vibe, and he still has his own personality, and it's like I just don't see anybody ever being in that position.
yeah.
You
It's funny
know?
because we Chewy when he was young, we were touring in Quebec, and we passed by his town, and he was about, I don't know, like 13, 14, something like that,
Right?
and he wanted to see us, and so he went to the show, and I think it was a Killing Tech tour, I think, back in the days, and he picked up the guitar after that and wanted to be Piggy, you know, somehow. And then he learned he learned the guitar on VoiVod. VoiVod was his favorite thing,
Yeah.
and that's the thing. It's like it's almost like when we played there, we put the seed in the ground, and then Piggy, the big tree of Piggy, fell, and then this one was growing, and then we just pick one up there.
Yeah.
The circumstances is weird too, you know. And
Oh, it's really strange. You know, it's like
yeah,
finding. It's almost like finding a younger. I don't want to say counterpart, but just like what are the chances of that happening? So
yeah,
that adds a whole other layer of joy. Maybe the joy I witnessed is like, man, we went through some shit and it fucking sucked.
yeah.
And
Like I say in Synchro Anarchy, I say, what are the odds? The odds we are, you know.
yeah,
And that line, I think, resumed that kind of thing, you know. It's just there's one chance on a million, but fucking, we have
you
it,
got it.
you know.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I also want to ask you about some of the lyrics on the new record, but also I sort of thought this morning when I was out trying to prepare for this, like, oh, I don't want to be nervous. I don't want to say a bunch of dumb stuff. But I was also like thinking, like, you know, VoiVod is very unconventional music, you know, across the board for, you know, 80 to 90% of everything that the band put out. Every record's different, more or less. And it's challenging music, you know, even from the first couple records before Killing Technology, where you guys truly, to me at least, that was when you guys just fucking, it was a quantum leap forward, you know, like, and I was really into the band De Croizen.
Yeah, yeah.
So I only heard, the only other band that seemed to have some of that same, not sounding like it, but the same kind of chords that Piggy used, Brian from the Croizen used. And I just remember thinking, this is great. This is crazy music. And I thought about all the other records that have come out. And I just think, was it really challenging to learn how to sing on top of all this bizarre music? Even going back to like, say, like some of the songs on the second record, you know, I mean, there's always something strange musically about it. But the third album forward, you know, like, especially the Dimension and Nothing Face, that's fucking crazy music. And it's still like, to me, getting those records as they came out, you know, they're totally ahead of their time and they're so weird. And meanwhile, in between all this weird stuff, there's this guy singing over it all. Was that tough to like just learn how to sing over this crazy music, or did you just get used to it really quickly?
Well, I think you know, I learned with Piggy. I just from day one, I was not a singer when I joined the band, so I never sang. So
Yeah.
I didn't know what was the reference in singing, and I think it helped in a way because I was easy to adapt with these chords. You know, I never really say that, oh, these chords are weird and they're not like familiar to my ears. You know, I got used to the chord and then these three tones kind of thing, and it's like a little bit unusual compared to other stuff.
Yeah.
But when I start singing on those things.
Yeah.
So I never asked myself, oh, am I doing it right? Everything was right. You know, the chorus was right, Piggy was right, Smiling. I never had like a
preconception.
Yeah, preconception, because I didn't know what I was doing exactly. You know,
Right.
I barely spoke English back in the days, and I was just like jumping in on that train, and everything came really fast. You know, so I never took lessons either, and you know, I learned to sing on VoiVod, and that's why I'm able to even if this if the music is complex and crazy and out of this world and all the, I try to create a song.
Yeah.
You know, I try to put layers of vocal in the sense that it's gonna create one unit, one piece, you know, not saying, oh, that's music with vocal on it, you know. It has to become a song, you know. And but I learned over the years, I learned over the records, the more I do, I think I get better every time. It's just the way it is.
That's
you know,
usually how it goes. If you do something over and over, chances are you're going to get better at it with time. As anything. So the four of you grew up in the same town, I believe.
No, well, the four original, yeah, but Chewy and Rocky are from Trois-Rivières region.
Okay.
Yeah, the Trois-Rivières is located between Quebec City and Montreal, just to get you a picture.
Right.
But yeah, they're from that region originally. But yeah.
So they asked you to join back in the very beginning in 1983. Was it something like that?
Yeah, 83. January 7th.
Okay. So was that pretty, I mean, obviously I've never been to where the area of Quebec you're talking about, and I have no experience of what it would be like to grow up in that environment being super. How many hours is that away from Montreal? Like 4 hours, 5 hours?
5.5 hours.
Okay. So in order to do anything, and especially after you start getting into music and then join this band, you got to do a lot of traveling. Was that really exciting at first when things
Oh
were?
yeah. Well,
Because,
well,
oh, go
yeah.
ahead.
At one point, we knew that we had to leave Jonquière. It's isolated in the woods. You have to cross a big faunic park.
Uh-huh.
And so it's an isolated region, and which is nice. It's really beautiful out there. But
Yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, to do business, we knew that we had to move to big centers and to go to Montreal or something. But
Mhm.
we moved to Montreal, and all of a sudden we started to have contracts of touring and everything. And from Jonquière we went to New York to play with Venom and Cro-Mags.
Yeah.
And so it went. Like I said, it went in '83 when that trash wave was passing. We just caught that wave, and
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
got thrown away with it, and all of a sudden, after 6 months in the band,
You're like
tour,
world.
yeah,
You're like known all over the world to a certain amount of people that are involved in sort of this underground metal world. People don't.
yeah,
I think people don't realize just how pivotal that was. Like word of mouth and tape trading and a period before the internet was invented, for better or for worse, where you had to write letters to people and
yeah. But
get.
actually, it was not. It was really efficient
Yes.
because with the internet, the thing is like there's too much stuff, and then
Oh,
you
too
get
much stuff.
lost. You get lost.
Yeah.
Your interest is kind of like wash away. And because back in the days, if you wanted to know what's over there, and you had connection, and that's the way we end up having a record deal, because
Oh, totally.
we had a friend that he was a trader, tape trader, and our tape went down to Brian Sligo.
Yeah.
Um, so that's the way it happened. And but I remember having cassette from him of stuff like the first Metallica with Mustaine,
Sure.
playing. So it was like, oh my God. And we knew that this kind of way, the first Slayer
Oh yeah.
demo, um, we kind of knew that, oh, okay, there's something going on, there's this
Yeah. Yeah.
new kind of music, extreme music was like new bands were appearing, Anthrax, this, that, and then all of a sudden, the whole thing exploded, and then,
Yeah. It was exciting. It was
yeah,
exciting. And also like I don't follow stuff as much these days as an an older person, but in the early 80s, it's like the anti just kept, there was Motorhead, discovering Motorhead around the same time of discovering things like the first Iron Maiden album, which was a big deal at the time, or
yeah,
a band Angel Witch. I remember listening to that in high school.
yeah,
Nobody knew who the fuck Angel Witch were. And then Metallica, first record comes out. Then Slayer's first record comes out, which sort of ups the ante a little bit. And then things just kept going and going, and everything exploded. And then there was like a punk rock underground too that ran, to me at least. I mean, some people thought those things were really different, but I thought the punk rock underground and the metal underground were very, I liked all of it. And
yeah, me too.
and people back then were like, well, you can't like both of it. And it's like, well, too
Well,
bad.
why not?
Yeah,
Why not?
yeah. It's like
I like GBH. I like Maiden. I like Ramones. I like
I like
Judas
Ron,
Priest.
I like Black Flag, I like Judas Priest, I like Iron Maiden. If you thought it was good, it was good. And
Yeah, And the thing back in the days too, there's one thing, we didn't have internet and people were going out. And that's the thing. That is the key, and these days people scroll on their phone and they get lost. And back then, we had these paper like fanzine and stuff like that. We had like the local Montreal Voir and Montreal whatever spin, not spin. What was it called? I can't remember. But we had to get these these pieces of paper to see who's playing where, and we knew, like, oh, sure, this band is cool. They're playing at the Fufun next Friday, and then everybody was there,
right.
And then and today it's funny that we have internet. We have all kind of way to distribute the communication, and it's sort of like doesn't have the same effect,
No, I'm on the internet a lot because I'm self-employed, and we'll get to that. You said, I think there's a line in one of the new songs where you bring up the word freelance, and that's the life I've been living 10 years. But oh fuck, I just lost my train of thought. I try to use the internet for forces of good because I'm self-employed. So, and I never could have done what I've been doing, which is carving out a half-assed living sort of without the benefit of the internet. So, I try to use it for the good stuff, and it's an amazing tool, even with its faults. But you can kind of like the way music has been devalued, and just how weird it is how people communicate or not communicate really, and how everybody has to be on teams now, and it's the whole fucking bonkers. Whereas I don't want to go back to back in the day or whatever, but it's like when you had to really search these things out, it made it sort of more special. Whereas now, if you wake up one morning and you're an 18-year-old guy that heard some heavy metal record and said, I want to have a crash course in learning about the Bay Area thrash metal scene. You could do that. You could spend 9 hours. You could research it like a term paper for school. You could find the bands that you're supposed to like. And that's cool. Yeah. But totally different than when you had to really seek it out. It's not a sound of anything. It's just noticing the difference. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Makes sense. I mean, it's an evolution. And being part of the illusion, things change. There's no doubt about it.
That's the way it goes. I'm not running out every night to see music. The lyrics of the new record, you bring it. There's a few songs where I get the impression that you're talking about, and this is just my observation, the sacrifice that you might have made as a young person to be the person you are now. Because you bring up the term freelancing, and it's like, well, that's what I do. I'm a freelancer. I don't have job security. I'm self-employed, and I got to keep drawing and doing all this stuff. I have to make it work no matter what. Are you commenting on anything like that? Like, as far as like, I could have been this person or that person, but instead I'm being true to myself and I'm being this kind of person, and I enjoy it. But there's maybe some sort of price that you pay as
there's always a price to pay, but I mean, it's a choice, and there's nothing wrong about choices in life. If we need people to do jobs in factories, but that was not for me. We need people to be firemen, but that wasn't for me, and then everybody chooses what they wants to do in their life. And then, but me, I wanted to, being creative. I was an artist since I knew I was an artist since I was really young. And I just wanted to find a way to become an artist and somehow, and I was doing theater at school, improvisation and like acting and stuff like that. I didn't know what would be the path, but while I was doing that, I was a music fan,
Yeah.
and becoming a lead singer in a band for me, that was joining both of worlds. And I knew that it would be a rough ride,
Oh yeah.
and nothing was guaranteed, and nothing,
Nothing's ever guaranteed anyway. So
yeah. But I put everything in the same bag, and say, okay, I'm going for this. But it was a big sacrifice. I remember the face of my dad when I say I quit school.
yeah.
Yeah, he wasn't too happy about it, like and
Well, what's your backup plan?
yeah, and especially because he wanted me to work in administration for his office and everything. So everything was set up for me. Everything was set up. I would have like a big house and cars and shit, but I didn't want it.
But would you, but would you be happy? Is always the question.
But it's been a rough ride in certain places, but it's been a crazy ride. And it's like I don't regret it, because I lived the best moments in life. I traveled the world many times. I experienced a lot of things. I met people.
Yeah.
I explored so many different things every day. Fill my head with different language, and oh, we're in Italia. Oh, we're in Chile, or we're in Japan, or it's just amazing. And
Yeah.
nobody can afford that kind of thing
Nope.
on a daily basis, and then the everyday life too, being in a band, in a bus or something. It's a different kind of world.
Yeah.
And there's a camaraderie.
Sure.
And there's funny things that happen every day. Funny things like fucking Spinal Tap time, and then and then it's gonna make you laugh for months, when you
Yeah.
think about it, and it pops up at the end. Yeah, I remember.
Right.
And then there's crazy stories like that would always be in my head, always stick there like a souvenir, like a memory, and it's priceless. I
It's
mean,
great.
yeah, that's that. We have one life.
That's okay.
We have one life to live, and then I don't regret
Yeah.
anything that I've done.
Awesome. I got one last question before I let you go. Thanks again for doing this. I really appreciate it. But the last question is, one of my favorite records the band ever did is a record that you weren't on. I'm just kind of curious about your thoughts when you quit for a while.
Yeah.
The band and the other two guys went on with Eric Forrest and did Negatron and Phobos, especially Phobos. I think Phobos is one of the best records the band ever did, and is almost as singular a record as Angel Rat is in its own way. Those are the two most singular records. Were you ever in a position where you were okay with listening to the band when you weren't in it? And what do you think of Phobos? And is there ever a chance of any other song from Phobos being played live in the future?
So yeah, that would be great, actually. And when I was out of the band, I knew the band, would release stuff, and I was curious about it. And I seriously, it's true that these records, both of them are amazing, And Piggy went into really dark and strange atmosphere. Like, it's sometimes I feel like he's in space, but it's a dark space with.
It's frightening. I mean, like, Phobos is like his guitar playing. It's not even guitar playing. It's just he's playing fear and dread, and it's just it's not. It's a really frightening record. So I was just always kind of curious about what you thought as somebody that wasn't on that, and whatever. I was just curious.
No, they're fabulous records. I think they're different. And Eric's singing is really good, and it's VoiVod, but kind of another episode there.
Oh yeah.
And then, but yeah, I appreciate them.
Cool. All right. Well, hey, I really appreciate this. It's nice to meet you. Sort of. all the time.